Today is 18th of April 2026. It's 10:25 in the morning, and we have the NBA players have already started. Nice. I'll jump to this really quickly and then kind of just post this for posterity. I might upload this video to YouTube just to have it for, like I said, posterity, or just have it for like my own kind of records and look back at it. But as a NBA fan and Warrior fan, I'm not surprised with the current outcome. So I just wrote my thoughts of the past, encompassing the last, kind of 6 years, evaluating the Warriors as a Warrior fan, and as a NBA fan, I consider myself a amateur pro basketball expert. So for watching the NBA for the past, say 26 years, since 2020 until now, 26 years of watching pro basketball. And but we do see that there is I'll do this really quickly. 16 teams are set, 8 teams in the West, 8 teams in the East. Before before the play-in tournament even started, I think it was about last month, I was talking to my father, back in March, about who I was thinking is going to win the NBA championship. I still think it'll be the San Antonio Spurs. I think regardless of anybody else, I think the San Antonio Spurs have just this balanced defense and offense. It's just like solid. And as of today, my projection for conference finals, I think it'll be number one ranked team, the Thunder, because they produce a lot of defensive talent of the past 3 years, and that stacking of defensive talent is going to propel the Thunder to the opportunity to have back-to-back NBA championships. But credit to them for having like 3 of the top 100 best defensive players on their team the previous year, the 2024-2025 championship, and now in 2025-2026, the 4 defensive teams in my eyes will be the 4 conference champions. Will be the 4 teams that end up in both the conference champions. So I think the number 1 rated Pistons have an excellent defense, and actually the Knicks have an excellent defense. I think the Knicks beat the Hawks, the Celtics beat the Sixers. I think when the Knicks and Celtics go at it, they're both going to produce defensive championship caliber teams. I think the Knicks are going to produce a better defense, and that'll prop them into the conference finals. The Pistons are the same way. The Pistons defense is just Detroit Pistons defense is just excellent, and their balanced offensive defense, so they'll propel themselves past the Magic. I think regardless of whoever wins the Cavaliers and Raptors, they're going up against the number 1 team in the East, has incredible defense. I think it's going to be vaulting them forward. Conference finals, in my eyes, is the Pistons for the defense, and the Knicks, with their defense kind of upsetting teams along the way. Mainly, they'll probably upset the Celtics to propel them forward. Barring any sort of injuries, like if the Knicks play the Celtics and, injuries occur, then of course, the less injured team will vault themselves forward. And in the Western Conference, like you said, just the Thunder having, anyway, I could check right now, but just going back to last year's 2024, Thunder's having 3 of the top 100 pro, 3 of the best, almost like top, I think 70 defensively rated players on their team is incredible. And so that sort of defensive talent will, push them past the Suns, of course. And then regardless, whoever the Lakers and Rockets have, Lakers I think have too many injuries. The Lakers have Luka's injured, right, out for the season, and I think Rui is also injured, and Reeves, right, is also injured, and so you have an injured Lakers team hobbling into the playoffs. And The Rockets are, of course, incredibly young. I think the Rockets are one of the youngest teams in the playoffs, just total. I think next to the Magic. The Magic are super young, but the Rockets are also young, talented teams. The Rockets had been like a top five team in the past 2 years. Um, I guess this will be a fun matchup to see, of course, who wins. But we see the Thunder make it here. Thunder beat, regardless whoever these are, and vault themselves forward in the Western Conference. And then Nuggets Timberwolves. It'll be fun. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun to watch, of course. Um, uh, but yeah, regardless, I just think once the Spurs show up, right? Oh, no offense to the Trailblazers. I mean, the Trailblazers they just don't have the talent to match up against the Spurs. Spurs are going to be balanced offensively, defensively. Um, especially with like Stephen Castle and Victor Wembanyama. Um, Victor Wembanyama, they're just and Stephen Castle, they're just going to produce that defensive offense that is so much coveted by any, of course, NBA team. And Spurs will beat the Trailblazers, and then regardless of whatever Timberwolves and Nuggets are, they're going to run into the wall that is the Spurs, and Spurs will eventually be in the Western Conference Finals. That's kind of just my take on Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals. The rest is formalities and procedural. I say the only thing that changes is I think it's just a combination of like youth and talent. The Thunder just have young guys in their 20s plus excellent defense, and the Spurs have young guys in their 20s that are, uh, just incredible defense. Not put the Western Conference. Same with Pistons. Well, the Knicks are a combination of like veterancy, maintaining consistent lineup of guys that just imagine this. There are injuries that occur all across the league, but to me, the Knicks have somehow just their strength and conditioning coaches, their maybe play style. They play. I still think it goes back to the play style of playing slower. I think just helps. So, for example, when you do like sprints or you do, it's kind of weird to say. In basketball, they call them like suicides. When you're running end to end the court baseline to court baseline, end to end, they call them suicide. But that's a dumb term. It's just basically when they're running from base court to base court, and you're trying to like wear out your players. That conditioning over like decades was to build like sprint capability. So if a player isn't capable of doing that, and like maintaining a high drive doing it, then it showed like their lack of like burst energy. But the scientifically point of view is um, it's more of fast twitch muscle growth versus like slow twitch muscle growth. So slow twitch muscle growth is for long distance conditioning and stamina, and then fast twitch uh, muscle growth is for like burst strength or like burst agility. But that's just like a weird platitude versus like what you want from your players. And so um, the prime example goes back to the Knicks, and even bringing up the late great Kobe Bryant over the years, his strength and conditioning coach. So combination of the player learning from a proper strength and conditioning coach. Kobe Bryant, for example, had a very specific strength and conditioning coach where he taught and trained Kobe to be what we call like lengthening the muscle. So, for example, um, conducting these type of workouts that are full body extensions, because in the game you are doing full body extensions versus this simple platitude, this simple gym culture, bro culture, as I'm recording this, is wrong and outdated, and of course detrimental to any athlete or any person. So, for example, like I'm a disabled United States Air Force veteran, and I try and make sure that no matter what I'm doing, um, I'm building proper uh, form and function of my workout so that I don't ever succumb to my injury. And even though I am Of course, the disabled United States Air Force veteran, I still will say that I'm in pretty good shape, but my disabilities do hinder other aspects of my life. But it's I pride myself on being able to be still athletic. I just not 100% anymore. So for basketball players, like martial artists or like soldiers, right? You know, if you train incorrectly, you're building up the wrong fast twitch muscles, you're building up the wrong slow twitch muscles, and like horrible form and like horrible function. So if the workout you're doing doesn't serve the proper function to the sport you're playing, it's detrimental to your health. If you eat incorrectly, right? If you don't eat cleanly, to slap some stupid doctors and slap some dumb nutritionists and slap some fucking bro culture. If you don't eat cleanly, right? If your diet is crap, excuse my French, your diet is shit, then that's also detrimental to your own health and especially to an athlete or a soldier or a martial artist, or to encompass athletes because people want to train for marathons and decathlons and for long distance running and for Spartan events or whatever. You're still just an athlete, and then just you eat like shit. You're gonna degrade your body with the proper nutrients it needs to recover a function. And then if you're doing the martial arts competitions or lifestyle, right, then it's the same thing. And then if you're a pro athlete or you're in a pro sport, what you eat, your diet, is gonna be detrimental to your body. So like, I'll call it out with Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic would smoke too much, would drink too much alcohol, and never his ego gets in the way and never allowed his body to fully heal and would never eat cleanly over the past 6 years. So, and just ask any NBA reporter, ask any of your NBA fans, ask any NBA insider, ask another NBA pro, and you'll see that Luka Doncic, is like he's injured, rushing back from injury every single time. And the past 6 years, he's been injured every single year, and that's because he's like smoking too much, drinking too much, probably partying too much, and his ego gets in the way. He's not listening to his body. He's probably not listening to his trainers. Probably not listening to his staff. And then every year he's injured because he's eating like shit. And when you look at his body and function, you can tell he's not building proper form muscles or function of his muscles on his own body. So then you see the continuation of him being injured. It's like predictable. So then when you look at like the Knicks, for example, they found a way to, I would bet it's their excellent nutritionists, their scientists when it comes to food, excellent strength and conditioning coaches, and excellent staff all working in tandem, right? Respecting each other, respecting their nutritionists, respecting their. I'm going to take an educated guess that because the Knicks consistently have players play over, long stretches of seasons, playing 60 games, 80 games, right? Over the seasons, but just the past 3 years of the Knicks, you're seeing. This is from a Warriors fan, but just I would take an educated guess. It's because they have good nutritionists that are working in tandem with their strength and conditioning coaches that are working in tandem with respecting their physical therapists, experts, and on top of that, the coaches probably respect their health experts and science experts to get the most and produce the best pro athletes. And that's why I think I educated guess why the Knicks you see have less injuries, or just their players are just playing long games, long minutes, long stretches of time, and you see a consistent product, a consistent Knicks defense, and then that builds synergy and that builds experience that you can't replace. Total opposite. I'll get to my rant on the Warriors, Steve Kerr, and everything, and to gives it perspective. And then some teams, uh, like 76ers, don't know what they're doing, and 76ers, they, you're bringing in Paul George, cool. You have VJ Edgecombe, great young talent, excellent rookie talent, right? They can rely on. But and like some teams are star heavy and they don't know how to formulate the defense and offenses. Some teams are pure athleticism, like the Rockets. Some teams are going off of veteran defense, like the Lakers. Um, the Hawks are going off athleticism. The Knicks are going off veteran defense. Pistons are going off of, but they're just balanced. Pistons, they may look like they have the best offense and defense. They look like a championship caliber team. Don't get me wrong, I don't know who's going to win the championship. Once we get down to these Final Four teams, my predictions are correct or incorrect, then you'll probably know. Once you get to the Final Four teams, you can just pick. You'll know which team is the championship caliber team, barring any injuries that occur. They'll kind of change the course of their own history and destiny and fate, and going for glory. Becoming NBA champions. The ultimate goal, because it's offense and defense. It's 5v5. It is historic. It's 75 plus years of pro basketball, going on 80 plus years of basketball, whatever it is now, right? And it's star athletic players and talent from all across the whole world. We are now internationally the fandom, fans all over the world, tens of millions of fans all across the world are going to be staying up late, talking, discussing, watching, in China, in the Philippines, in Japan, in Brazil, in the South Americas, in Europe, in Africa, all across the Americas, right? And of course, our own huge fandom in the United States, in Canada, and Mexico. But just understand, as an international sport, we probably have massive fans of the NBA in India too, and probably in Indonesia and Australia and whatnot. But like in the Middle East too. But just all across the whole world, the NBA is like it's the pro basketball in the United States because it is the sheer best talent. And so when like Steph Curry and like LeBron James and KD, when they won, right, they're winning the Olympics and they're winning international basketball competition sports, right, with our guys that are Americans from the United States, that sets the tone. The whole world sees it. When Steph Curry like propelled the U.S. team past the French team and won, trust me, like the entire world saw that talent, and they know for a fact, like 100% of all NBA fans across the whole world, fans in China, Philippines, Brazilians, French, English, Spanish, various African nations, Indonesian fans, Mexican fans, Canadian fans, American fans, we all see like our American talent, no, Black American talent, African American talent, however you want to look at it, but just our Black Americans in the United States, our talent, our guys, vaulting themselves, propelling themselves to being like Olympic champions and all that. And so the rest of the world recognizes that. So we are now an international sport. It has international talent across the whole world. But the cream de la creme, the cream of the crop, the best players are still Black Americans, African Americans, for our intelligence and athleticism. And now and then it's teamwork, right? It could be NFL, it could be college sports. Everyone dreams to jump, 4 feet in the air, or to shoot a 30-foot range 3-point shot. Through grueling games, players get injured in 3 ways: not eating cleanly, eating poorly, not doing proper form and function conditioning, and then just the third major feature is a third major obstacle is the physicality of the NBA. And so, for example, like Joel Embiid. I don't think he's ever been in shape. He's a big guy, much like Shaq, where I think Shaquille O'Neal in his first few years was using his youth as his athleticism, and as years went on, he just. I remember the articles in the early 2000s where Kobe Bryant was mad at Shaquille O'Neal because he didn't live up to his potential, because he was basically just kind of out of shape. He just used his height, his 7'2" frame, and you can slowly see him over the years get out of shape. And these were in later years interviews in the 2010s with Kobe Bryant. And even I think Shaquille O'Neal had acknowledged that those arguments, like a past interview in the early 2010s, where he was addressing the fact that he knew he kind of didn't live up to his potential. And I see the same thing happening with Joel Embiid, but like no other writers, no other NBA writers kind of give a damn about like the talent in the Americas, the talent in the United States, the talent in Black Americans, and like looking at where you sit when you have all that talent. So Joel Embiid has like the body frame, which should generate natural talent. It's kind of produced it. But then what's the thing with Joel Embiid? People are like, oh, it's the injuries. Guess why the injuries are occurring? Not eating cleanly, eating poorly, not properly working out, form and function, like bad form, bad function. And then the third, like I said, obstacle, the physicality of the NBA. And so with Joel Embiid, he should really be the number one most powerful talent in the world, but of course he's not living up to it, much like Shaquille O'Neal. And I'd probably say, Stephen Curry, or Wardell Stephen Curry the second, is still the face of the NBA. Still is probably the number one player in the entire world. If you ask, 500 NBA pros, guess who's going to be number one? It's Wardell Stephen Curry, aka Stephen Curry, or the chef himself. And hey, ask 100 international sports writers, ask 500 NBA pros. If you had a ranked choice system, ask them if you can build your 5-person starting team, who are you taking first, or who's going to be on that team? And the vast majority of that kind of ranked weighted system between like 100 international NBA writers or like 500 NBA pros is going to be Wardell Stephen Curry, or the chef himself, Stephen Curry. He'll be in that 5-person lineup, and he'll be the first player drafted for anybody's fictitious NBA team, right? If you get the chance to build a team. And then among that, you might see like Steph, Luka, or Steph and Shai. Probably Steph and Luka. Shai's not really a basketball pro. He's getting the Jordan favoritism. You might even see like Steph and Jalen Brunson and stuff like that. In terms of a powerful forward, you might even see, Paul George or something like that. If people were really looking at basketball talent, you might see like Bam Adebayo, right, for a forward talent. In terms of a center, it's probably still Wemby over everybody else. So, guaranteed. Fantasy teams like number 1 point guard Steph Curry, number 2 shooting guard, maybe like Brunson or Luka. Maybe even, yeah, something like that. But of the forward positions, the 3 role and the 4 role, it could be debatable over who people think is like, if you should include a different pro or something like that. But I think like Bam Adebayo is just a stronger forward than he is a center. Probably the best, power 4, and then the best center is still like Victor Wembanyama, just off in the defense over anybody else. There's probably debate of like who's the powerful forward at third. Maybe LeBron James, probably. That might be more of a fan vote. fan favoritism. Maybe LeBron James 6 years ago, right, is the best, 3 role position, or regular forward and not a power forward. But now that he's 2026 year, if LeBron James wants to keep playing, I don't think you can consider him like number one forward role out of like all NBA starters and all that. So it's just stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would say it'd be like 4 Americans and like 1 French guy. It'd probably be like guard, forward. Those 4 pros would probably be Americans, and then like the fifth as a center would probably be Victor Wembanyama, who's from France. In terms of like power scale, and I think Shai is a shooting guard or a point guard. I don't know. He kind of hybrid off from his role. Game time decision. Is he injured? Oh, maybe the Suns won't, or maybe the Shai and Chet Holmgren were both injured. Oh, snap. Hey, what is this? Team injury. Yeah, just give me that. My apologies. Maybe the Thunder won't make it to the Western Conference. How are they gonna sit here and say no data, and then immediately when it comes to like the game tomorrow, they're like Shai's injured, Chet Holmgren is injured, like Jalen Williams. There's too many Jalen's in the NBA. No, I mean he's a good guy. He's great. Sorry, there's a song that there's a there's a there's a Jalen Williams song that was it's funny. Sorry, it's there's this like New York rapper that made a song like there's too many Jalen's in the NBA, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's just funny that there's like 30 or 40 Jalen's in the NBA. But super sad to see Jalen Williams Achilles, Carson Wallace toe injury, AJ Mitchell ankle, Isaiah Joe knee, Isaiah Hartstein has a calf injury. Oof. And then Chet Holmgren and Shai are injured. So you're telling me the Thunder have 7 injuries? Ooh, maybe my prediction of Thunder going to the Western Conference matching against the Spurs, maybe that could be incorrect. Well, like I said, or as I was saying, it's just predictions, barring any injuries, and not realizing the Thunder are limping into the playoffs. Oof. That'll be interesting. I mean, now the matchup between Thunder and Suns become interesting mainly because the Thunder have like 7 injuries. So it's like, oof. Hey, highlighting Stephen Castle. Oh, Victor's injury. He has a rib injury. That was 6 days ago. Oh, damn. Mm. Dang, Dylan Harper's thumb injury. Victor has a rib injury. Legit. Luke Cornett has a shoulder injury. David Jones Garcia has an ankle injury. Dang, he's the only person healthy. Stephen Castle. Oof. This is David, right? Oh, it's Denny. My bad. Denny and Vija. Sorry about Portland. I just kind of wrote them off as the rest of the analytics are like, hey, San Antonio's number 2 team in the West, 80% chance to win. Of course, I think Damian Lillard is injured. His Achilles. But these stats are only predicated on, well, I guess it just depends with Victor. This is game time decision. The messed up part is that this can be real or fake. So there's another. People are like, what? Some people are gonna be like, what? And then some people are gonna be like, what? It's the fact that there is a politics in the NBA, a type of leverage that is adjusted. So, for example, Victor Wembanyama may or may not be injured. If he is injured, I'm sorry that he's injured. If he's not injured, it's like 4D chess. It's like a chess move, like teams do. So, if he's injured, hey, I'm sorry, he's injured, and he has to play through probably bruised ribs or something like that, right? Because if it was a broken rib, he's out for the season. If it's bruising around the ribs, that could be what it is. And if it isn't real or it's fake, this type of chess move to where the Spurs are trying to is like outside the game of basketball. It's a stratagem to see if if the if the Portland Trailblazers are going to run their offense and defense differently, and will the Spurs operate with like a different offense and defense in the playoffs. So either it's kind of like he's legitimately injured and they have to adjust, of course, or he's not injured. It's a fake injury, but it's a way to kind of pull and see and pick apart what the Port Trailblazers are going to do, and and then you're making your adjustments on the court with the matchups. So we'll kind of see, the proof's in the pudding. All right, like how the players rotate, cut, their movement, their agility, their athleticism will all be evident once the game plays. All right, either Victor's Wembanyama is injured and you're gonna kind of see it, or it's all a ruse and they just want to pick apart the Portland offense and defense. That's a 32-minute talk on NBA stuff, and now we'll get to the main issue as a Warrior fan and an NBA fan. And I'll cut it into two parts. I'll cut that 30-minute or 32-minute segment as a separate like basketball preview and analysis. And to kind of encompass everything. Players are smoking and drinking and partying. Players are eating candy, eating unhealthy. Players are egoed. They have a lot of ego. They're multi-million-dollar drama, or tens of millions of dollars of drama, or hundreds of millions of dollars of drama, depending on what pros you want to think of. And they're like not listening to their coaches, not listening to the strength and conditioning calf, not listening to their family members, not listening to their own peers. So then you see like just injuries and like mess ups and all that. And on the flip side, sometimes it's the pros putting their faith in bad strength and conditioning coaches and like bad physical therapists and bad nutritionists. But so there's always it's always occurring. There's always a flip side to something. There's always the pros doing everything he can by following bad advice. And there's also the excellent advice is being given to them, and their ego gets in the way, and they're not doing, they're not getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep. They're not eating cleanly, smoking too much, drinking too much, eating too much candy, playing too much golf, playing too many video games, and they're not honing their craft. So especially just ask an average American I'll finish this segment just asking average American, man, if you're getting paid $10 million per year, right? Heck, if you're getting paid $2 million per year, if you're getting paid $2 million per year, if you're getting paid $10 million per year, if you're getting paid $50 million per year, you would think, regardless of if you're getting paid 2 mil, 10 mil, 20 mil, 50 mil per year, that man, I should probably want to like learn basketball. And there's another ego of the pros thinking that they know basketball when like they don't. They're just going off of like pure athleticism. They should probably, if you're getting paid 2 mil, 10 mil, 20 mil, 50 mil, 50 mil a year, you should probably take the time to either be taught or pay attention or learn proper nutrition. A pro should probably take the time to really, understand basics of like physical therapy or kinematics or sports medicine or sports therapy. Just basic foundational stuff. They don't have to get until they don't have to be like PhD people. They just need to understand you know golden tidbits information to help with nutrition and recovery. But I'm gonna take a good guess that ego gets in the way and they defer that thinking to some other expert instead of a learned skill. And then and then there's other stuff that happens too. There's family drama, finance drama, spiritual religious drama, whatever else is. Oh, I need to get some water. Yes, I gotta get some more. That can be affecting the total health of an athlete, from their mental health, their physical health, to their spiritual health. There's three segments that make a person whole. Regardless if you're a pro athlete or if you're just a sports enthusiast or if you're a martial artist or if you're whatever you're doing. Oh, and then the other thing is there's the drama. There's the locker room drama, and then the NBA politics, business politics that then happen that can create animosity or friction in locker rooms. So, and that's like the average person won't understand when you're like the face of a team, of a city, has like millions of fans. That kind of pressure that can affect your decision making and all that. So I'll cut up that segment, 37 minutes or whatever, talking about the NBA and the NBA culture, ecosystem, my predictions, and that humans are humans. It's like if an actor is acting in a movie and they get paid a lot of money, no different than anybody else. If you're a pro athlete, you're still just a human. You're still a WNBA or NBA. You're still just human. Yeah. And that those three parts that make a person whole, from their mental health to physical health to spiritual health, is like the 33%, 30%, 30% that make you whole, complete as a person. And if any of that is out of whack, well, it's evident. You usually see it. So I'll end that segment because I know I'm going off on it. I mean, each one could utilize a deeper dive, like 10-minute segments or 30-minute segments each, going into the nitty gritty of basically the science, the sociology, the physiology, kinematics, sports medicine, mental health. So yeah, I'll try to leave it at that. But it just also goes back to like the 99.99% of the average person won't have the empathy or apathy to understand when like be in the shoes of like a New York Knicks pro and there's like millions of fans, all the pressure's on you. Or being like a San Antonio pro, San Antonio Spurs pro, and there's like millions of fans and millions of people watching, and the pressure. comes behind playing at the biggest stage. So that's a whole other probably talking conversation. I just got to make a mental note and a digital note to cut up this 39 or 40-minute segment. Let's get to the thing. No detriment to a person named Ali. No detriment, no disrespect to a person named Gin30. They posted almost like they posted like a reporter ish by just kind of repeating what has already occurred. So this is the 1:43 a.m. April 18th. Today's Saturday. In the morning, this is PST. So it's 1:43 in the a.m. PST. April 18th. This is Ali, or this person named Gin30 just posted. Quote, Steph Curry says the Warriors have to get back to the basics of what makes a good competitive basketball team next season. To include an excerpt from Steph Curry. I believe if I play what Steph Curry says, I'm pretty sure this is like copyrighted. But she just, or they had, my bad. I don't know if it's a she or he or whatever, but they had put what Steph Curry said. So I'll just read what Steph Curry said from the interview. It's a minute 43, and you can watch this interview in this post game presser for 13 minutes on the Warriors webpage from yesterday. So it just goes back to this person, watched the interview last night and then uploaded it. So quote, this is from Steph Curry. Award Stephen Curry the second. Steph Curry, the chef himself. I've only been in one locker room for the last 17 years. And before you win the title, there were only those first 2 years where you're building the foundation for what a championship team looks like, even though you had no idea what they really meant. Then you accomplish it, then everything else is based off of that. And it's been that way since 2015. So I think we can reshape the narrative, like knowing in the back of our mind that is the ultimate goal. But we have to get back to the basics of what makes a good competitive basketball team every single night. Realize how hard it is to win in this league, but we can rethink how we do things with the foundation that we've established. We don't have to keep saying championship, championship, championship every day. I'll talk about what all this means in a second. Even though we've experienced that, can we just build the foundation again? What this team needs to do. He's mad at head coach Steve Kerr with the way that the game's played now. Head coach Steve Kerr is old. How fast it is. Head coach Steve Kerr is old. How young athletic is. Head coach Steve Kerr doesn't know what he's doing. All of those things. Head coach Steve Kerr doesn't know what he's doing. We have to kind of put everything on the drawing board to get back to just being competitive every single night. Head coach Steve Kerr with his atrocious rotations and throwing games. This first segment is there were those first 2 years where you're building the foundation of a championship team, what it looks like. This is a shout out to head coach Mark Jackson. Even though you had no idea what it was meant. This is Stephen Curry talking about, he was that young pro under Mark Jackson. He didn't know what a championship team looks like. But the foundation of the Warriors was built by Mark Jackson. Then you accomplish it. Everything is based off of that. This was man. And they're like championship. It was a dig at head coach Steve Kerr. trying to hold on to the old. So my reply wasn't to necessarily, and it's not directed at this username Allen or Gen 30. It's just for the basketball world. Mark Jackson built the foundation of the Warriors dynasty for Dub Nation. Steph Curry is referencing former head coach Mark Jackson. He built the key foundation of the offense and defense of the Warriors. Curry's alluding to the fact that head coach Steve Kerr didn't do anything. He copied. Since head coach Steve Kerr didn't need to build anything, Mark Jackson from 2011 to 2014, in those 4 years, built the system, the offense and defensive sets, had 4 years of players who knew his system, and they had Jerry West, the logo himself, from 2011 to 2017. Head coach Jackson, executive West, these two basketball geniuses built the system, drafted Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and the other pros during the time. Curry's alluding to the fact that head coach Steve Kerr came in and copied head coach Mark Jackson's playbook, an already winning team, winning formula. I should do this. I'll get into it in a second. The one over right. This was copying winning formula. The one thing over the past 9 years, for head coach Mark Jackson, he already had a winning record. All right. 2011, 2014, he had a winning record, and they had upsetted the Dallas Mavericks, with the Warriors with the A seed and the Dallas Mavericks the number 1 seed, and they were essentially, primed to go ahead and win that 2015 championship. It was 4 years of head coach Mark Jackson, who had built the system, built the offense, built the defense, had creative plays, had genius creative plays. Mark Jackson had created unique, one-of-a-kind defense and offense that no one else were running. And that's what upset the number 1 seeded Mavericks at the time, as like an A seed team. And then, head coach Steve Kerr just copied head coach Mark Jackson's playbook, who was already winning, had a winning formula in 2011, 2014. And then 2015, when the Warriors won the championship, that entire 90% of the team was a Mark Jackson team. And that one over the past 9 years, that head coach Steve Kerr could never do was develop players. It was Mark Jackson's pros who had a proper team, proper synergy. They pulled apart the roster to make room for KD, but the Warriors never needed KD. And the head coach Steve Kerr cost Curry 3 MVP seasons. When Curry would get hot or be on fire, he'd just be in the zone scoring. When he was younger, 10 years ago, 9 years ago, 8 years ago, it was head coach Steve Kerr that was benching him, wasting his youthful years on the court, costing Curry 3 MVPs that he should have won. This is because Steve Kerr didn't want Steph Curry to surpass Michael Jordan. Also note, when Curry, Dre, and Klay were injured and were out, head coach Steve Kerr, the Warriors' franchise record is 16 total wins. It's actually, there's a correction, it's 15 total wins. Subsequent year, they drafted a college pro in Wiseman. Had essentially failed. Wiseman only played 3 college games of basketball in 2020 in the draft class. Understand that the GM and head coach, they signed up on the pros to be drafted 14. Head coach Steve Kerr doesn't know what he's doing. I already know Jerry West had to be laughing off camera that the Warriors failed. Right now, Jerry West is like one of the executives for like the Clippers or something like that. For Dub Nation, the Warriors wasted the number 2 overall pick under head coach Steve Kerr's tenure. Head coach Steve Kerr had 15 wins and a 50-loss season in the 2019-21 season, 2019-2020 season, leading up to the 2020 draft. And again, drafted a dude in 2020 who played 3 total college games. I guarantee you that every GM, every general manager, or NBA expert is laughing at the Warriors. We can see it. We as Dub Nation, we go on to watch the Lakers win the 2020 season. the Mickey Mouse Trophy that no one respects because LeBron James pushed the pros to play instead of honoring the dead and canceling the season. Then the Bucks win in 2021 season, and in the 2022 championship year, we saw there were these key moments during the Warriors vs Celtics series where we saw Stephen Curry holding the playboard, drawing up plays using markers, and Draymond Green holding the playboard, drawing up plays too. After being down 2-1 in the series to the Celtics, the Warriors would go off and win 3 games in a row due to Curry and Dre making plays. Quite literally. After the Curry offense and Dre's defense won their 4th NBA championship in 2021-2022 season, the past 2023, 2024, and 25 season had failed for the Warriors because for a long game of phone tag, head coach Steve Kerr forgot how his copied homework of head coach Mark Jackson. Steve Kerr can't develop talent. He's literally only the pros left from head coach Mark Jackson team is Steph Curry and Draymond Green of the past 9 years. Where's the talent that Kerr develops is here's an example of the Google Gemini system failing. Watch these AI systems fail because Jonathan Kuminga isn't on the Warriors and TJD isn't on the Warriors. That's why the AI systems continue to hallucinate. You have to do the work to find the proper, accurate information. So Google's Gemini system say based on the Golden State Warriors roster 2026, which is us all, just negative feedback. Here's the 4 players currently on the team who are not on the team. The system thinks they're still on the team. Drafted by the Warriors during the Steve Kerr era, the last 8 years. Kuminga was a first-round talent. Moses Moody is a first-round talent. Brandon Podziemski is a first-round talent. And then TJD, Trace Action Davis was a second-round talent. Notably, the Google's AI system, Jonathan Kuminga is not on the roster. Trace Action Davis isn't on the roster. And the Google AI system is saying, even the Gemini AI system from Google has its own typos. It put note while GUI, even though it should be a space. It's while space Guy Santos. And recently drafted players like Quinta Pose. Quinta Pose is also injured. Alex Tui injured. Will Richard should have played in the Suns game. Have been affiliated with the team. The 4 listed above are generally considered the core drafted rotational players from the period still on the roster. Jordan Poole, not on the team. James Wiseman, not on the team. But even the messed up AI system recognizes that Poole and Wiseman aren't on the team, but Kuminga, TGD aren't on the team, but the AI system thinks it's unless 4 Dub Nation, the AI system, aka Google's Gemini system, is laughing at head coach Steve Kerr that perhaps if the Warriors still had JK and TJD for the series, oh my bad, I shouldn't say series, but for the Suns game, they would have perhaps the young athletic talent before them forward. Jonathan Kuminga isn't on the Warriors, but should still be here as first-round talent. But the heavily depleted, injured roster. Moses Moody's injured, so missing a number 2 best true shooter on the team. Curry was injured during the Suns' loss. Guy was injured during the Suns' loss. Kristaps Porzingis was injured during the Suns' loss, only played 15 total minutes. We had Butler injured, of course, half of the season. Melton was injured. Draymond Green was injured from the Clippers game. And they had 7 pros or 9 pros that are injured. Multiple players out for the season. Rushing pros to play injured in the Suns game, all due to head coach Steve Kerr. Head coach Steve Kerr's staff is a strength and conditioning. This coaching staff, head coach Steve Kerr signed off on, doesn't know what they're doing. Unable to get players into shape, heal their bodies, for some odd reason for the past 10 years. All these injuries while we see other coaching staffs have success keeping pros ready. The past 6 years, from 2019 until now, the 2025 season ended. Curry and Draymond won the 2022 championship season. But it's 5 years of, 5 other years of failing under head coach Steve Kerr, with one player in pods considered the core talent. and the rest are not on the team anymore. Without the fact, Guy Santos is now injured, Chupi is injured, or Quinton Post is injured, Alex Tuhey is injured. Will Richard was used, even though as an NBA rookie, Will Richard scored 30 points faster than Pods. Or the biggest travesty is the fact that the Warriors needed, they needed Richards. Will Richards' defense out there during the game against the Suns, that's like just ultimately frustrating. If the Warriors had Jonathan Kuminga, he shuts down Jalen Green, because we have seen Jonathan Kuminga shut down Luka in the past. Warriors were missing offensive scoring in the loss to the Suns because they didn't have Will Richards scoring with an injury-ridden team. This is all on head coach Steve Kerr. Ask any or every NBA analyst or NBA expert with a mic. The Warriors had Jonathan Kuminga, TJD, utilized their young upstart talent Will Richard. They would have had an easier game versus the Clippers and probably would have won versus Suns. Sometimes the Gemini AI system called Gemini can do its thing. The Warriors for Dub Nation, but there are at times these fake AI systems hallucinate on basic roster facts for the Warriors. But Will Richard was needed, and head coach Steve Kerr threw the game away. He didn't play Will Richard all day in the Suns game. Even though, based on, let's go with Gemini AI system, based on 2025-2026 season, rookie Will Richard was considered a high IQ 3-and-D steal. Proved he deserved significant playing time by scoring 30 points in his first start. Providing essential spacing, making high effort plays, his ability to hit threes, cut intelligently, and defend helped the Warriors. Impactful play. Will Richard displayed veteran poise as a rookie, often appearing to be a low maintenance, high impact player, acting as a winning player for the team. 3-and-D value. Providing crucial floor spacing, defense, shot confidently from the floor, acted as an off-ball guard capable of consistent catch and shoot opportunities. Needed for the offense. Steal of the draft. Quote, drafted 56 overall. Became a surprising rotational piece with a strong motor, high basketball IQ, highly intelligent pro from a championship winning caliber college basketball team that fits Kerr's system. Often drawing praise for his rebounding effort and defensive efforts. Performance metrics. While some observe rookie mistakes and a lower plus-minus metric, others praise his ability to make significant contributions to the offense, including his 30-point performance. Hey y'all, guess why Jonathan Kuminga, TJD, and Will Richard would be if they were on the Warriors roster. Kind of equaled out plus-minus for Dub Nation to see this part. Based on the 2025-2026 preseason and early season tracking, the Warriors' defensive rating DRTG has been significantly bolstered by their draft class, notably with the presence of Jonathan Kuminga and Trayce Jackson-Davis and rookie Will Richard, alongside veterans like Draymond Green. Goddamn. Excuse my motherfucking French. Why head coach Steve Kerr is a fucking idiot. I'll say it again. Based on the 2025-2026 preseason and early season tracking, and they're drawing from like Sports Illustrated and like 4 of the sources. The Golden State Warriors defensive rating DRTG had been significantly bolstered by the 2025 draft class, notably with the presence of Jonathan Kuminga, Trayce Jackson-Davis, and rookie Will Richard. The impact of the lineup changes. The addition of Will Richard, the 56th overall pick in 2025, and the continued development. I'm going to say it again. The continued development. Trayce Jackson-Davis, the 57th pick from 2023, has improved the team's defensive depth, assisting a more robust defensive unit compared to previous seasons. Fucking head coach Steve Kerr. This dumb motherfucker. Will Richard's defensive impact in early 2025-2026 action. Will Richard at guard with a notable wingspan. He has really long arms. has contributed to a solid defensive rating, averaging 2.3 steals per 36 minutes in early appearances, indicating a high activity defensive presence. Defensive reliability. In lineups featuring key defenders and new rookies, the team has aimed to maintain a defensive rating, often dipping below 115. A 112 DRTG was noted when Draymond Green was on the court with key members in the early 2025-26 season. While specific, consolidated five-man lineup statistics for only those three players are not fully established in a long-term data, the combined presence of the 2025-26 tracking has been deemed a home run for the Warriors' defensive depth. Head coach Steve Kerr, under his tenure, Jonathan Kuminga, TJD should be on the team, and Will Richard should be utilized. Like, damn. I mean, it would have been great. And another dig at head coach Steve Curry, why he's a motherfucking idiot. He's a dumb motherfucker, man. Oh, sorry. Excuse my motherfucking French. My motherfucking language. Like, God fucking damn it. This right here happens because head coach Steve Kerr for the past 10 years won't like lock in a lineup to establish like synergy. All right, he's constantly there was never a starting lineup that could flourish. There was never a starting lineup that could gel. There was never a starting lineup that could build team synergy. So I would love for people to just ask 30 other NBA experts, ask 200 other NBA pros. Imagine your starting lineup was just constantly changing. And I'm going to expect and predict that 100 different NBA experts and 500 or 1,000 NBA pros who are tired or still playing would tell you, if my multi-billion dollar, my $10 billion valuation NBA team constantly change the stupid fucking roster, the team cannot gel. The Warriors are the most valuable franchise in the entire NBA and one of the most valuable sports franchises in the entire fucking world at $10 billion. You have this dumbass motherfucker and Steve Kerr constantly fucking up the entire roster for 10 years. And you want fuck him, dog. Now fuck that stupid motherfucker, man. Holy shit. Mediocre piece of shit. Steve Kerr. You didn't drive the bus when you were in Chicago. That was Scottie Pippen. That was Michael Jordan. That was the rest of the coaching staff. Fucking bus rider, man. If Steve Kerr was never on the Chicago Bulls, it doesn't make a difference. So just remove his 6 championships. Right? Does anyone care that some of the bench pros on the Warriors have a championship ring? I don't think so. We see the Warrior pros that are needed are onto the team for the best possible DRTG. Jonathan Kuminga isn't on the team, but shut down the NBA pros as a defender. TJG was needed and is needed. And Kevin Looney is needed, and the AFC pros aren't on the team. Quinion Post is injured, and Curry's injured, and Draymond Green's injured. From Google's AI Gemini system, based on the defensive rating of the DRTG data from the recent seasons, the best Golden State Warriors lineups have consistently featured Draymond Green as the anchor, because Draymond Green is the greatest NBA defender we've ever seen in the past 10 years. Usually paired with, quote, an elite perimeter defenders like Gary Payton or Andrew Wiggins. Solid size, such as Trace Jackson-Davis. The top defensive lineup of the past 3 years. Again, mediocre Steve Kerr was a bus rider, not a bus driver. Wasn't even needed on the Chicago Bulls. 2024-25 season for the Warriors, their top defensive lineup the past 3 years, highly efficient, consisted of BP, Brandon Podziemski, Buddy Hield, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Quinny Post. The problem is Buddy Hield's not on the team. Jimmy Butler is injured out for the season. Draymond Green is currently injured, playing injured. And QP was injured and I think out for the past 2 weeks, whatever. This emerged as the top defensive unit at 99.2 points per 100 possessions. But you really also don't really need BP in this position. You could just play, GP2 or something like that. You could just play like Gary Payton the second, Buddy Hield, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Quinny Post to be like the best defensive unit. Because we already know that, Gary Payton the second, GP2 was a better defensive player than BP. And that's just no offense to BP, it's just a veterancy thing. So like GP2 just has more experience and just a better, reliable defensive asset as a guard over BP, who's just a younger player in his earlier phase of his career. But this unit was elite at DRTD, only allowing 99 points per 100 possessions. The best 3-player unit in the combination is Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and QP. They recorded a 105.4 defensive rating in over 80 minutes of play time, making it one of the most effective sustained lineups when those three are playing. Steph Curry is still A++ or S+ offense with a good probably A- defense. Draymond Green might be like a B+ offense, but is like S+ defense. And then QP is probably like balanced offense defense. But QP is probably more like probably also like a B-rated offense and like an A- defense or something like that. High volume lineup. The lineup of Curry, Pods, Butler, Kuminga, Green showed a strong defensive resilience at a 102.2 defensive, but like you also like don't really need Pods. This could have been GP2 or Will Richard or somebody else. But this was like 2 guards and then like 3 forwards. But Curry's injured, playing injured. Pods is healthy. Butler's injured out for the year. Kuminga is not on the team when they needed him. Draymond Green is currently injured, playing injured. Key defensive anchors. StatMuse individual data for 2024-25 season confirms that Kevon Looney is 103.7 and Draymond Green is 106.5. Held the highest individual defensive ratings, meaning the lineup containing them typically performed better defensively. So if head coach Steve Kerr still had Kevon Looney as center and Draymond Green as a forward, just having those 2 defensive guys anchor the team, because in basketball you have offense and defense, and it's better to have guys that can play defense and offense, defense and offense, defense and offense, defense and offense, defense and offense. But what the Warriors were doing is they'd have like their defensive elite specialist in Draymond, and then like their offensive elite specialist in Stephen Curry, and then they have like flexibility with like 3 other guys, but that also just generates some weaknesses. So. And during that time, like Kyle Anderson produced a good defensive rating, and Gary Payton produced a good defensive rating. But if you look at like the key defensive anchors, like BP isn't there, so like GP could easily replace like BP in this lineup, or GP could easily replace like Paz's lineup. But guess who kept messing up? Mediocre Steve Kerr kept messing up the entire lineup. The most effective lineups often replace one of the high-scoring guards with a defensive specialist like Gary Payton II, when closing games to maintain like a proper DRTG. That is like quite comical. I appreciate the Google Gemini system from, if it's not hallucinating on like basic lineup stuff, but then like shows like in-depth analysis from the Gemini system. That's why these AI systems, or these fake AI systems, these algorithms are can't do some basic stuff right, but can like, you know, deep dive drill into like the nuance of like statistics. This is backing off the fact that like yeah, Dre's injured or had played injured. The Warriors are missing their defensive pros. Guess who built the Warriors defense in 2011, 2014? Former head coach Mark Jackson. Much needed defense for 2025, 2026. The future NBA championship, the future NBA championship is the team that is going to play the best defense. So like, going back to what I was saying here, the Thunder are walking in with like 7 injuries. The Spurs have injuries. That definitely kind of sucks. It was to my earlier prediction, like I said, I think the Thunder and the Spurs would end up in the Western Conference Championship, but both the Thunder and Spurs are walking into these games with injuries, so it's like, ouch. So now it's the best skill is availability, which goes back to having a healthy mental, having a healthy body, and being like spiritually sound. 33%, 33%, 33%, and making you whole as an athlete or a person or a human. So you can piggyback off that. Andrew Wiggins played 60 games this season, and Jimmy Butler only played 38 games this season. Those two players, both Andrew Wiggins and Jimmy Butler, were traded, but I think the Warriors could have used Andrew Wiggins. You know, balance offense and defense as a forward, the best skills availability. Andrew Wiggins can also shut down, much like Jonathan Kuminga, could shut down, you know, opposing offensive players. The Warriors could have used, my bad, this type of Wiggins defense and long arm self shutdown players in the Clippers and the Suns help Warriors win games. With Kuminga, Wiggins, and Draymond Green, all 3 pros produce an NBA Elite DRTG of 98.4 rating. Now, I'm going to copy this again. Ask as many NBA analysts, NBA experts, ask a couple hundred retired NBA pros, just show them this stat. Why mediocre Steve Kerr is an idiot. Kuminga, Wiggins, and Draymond Green, all 3 pros produce an NBA Elite DRTG at 98.4 rating. Absolutely a championship form defense. They just needed 2 offensive pros like Curry and 1 other pro. It's a data in a 5-game stretch. This is all due to head coach Steve Kerr failed rotations. From Google's Gemini system. Based on the data from 2023 and early 2024, the potential defensive rating DRTG for the Golden State Warriors with Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga when paired with Draymond Green suggests a top-tier elite defense, but a weak one when Green is absent. Elite potential with Green. Wiggins, Kuminga, and Green playing together. Guess why they only played 5 games? Because a mediocre head coach Steve Kerr is an idiot. He's a moron. Doesn't know what he's doing. Absolute fuck up. Head coach Steve Kerr. This bus riding motherfucker. Ask any retired NBA pro, man. Just show them this stat, right? The DRTG 98.4. Just show them, and then tell them, oh man, it was only ever seen in 5 games. Goddamn head coach Steve Kerr is a fuck up. He's a piece of shit. Dog shit ass head coach. I would love to have seen, and give me 30 games. Give me 20 games. Give me 30 games of where Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, and Draymond Green are together. Instead of not playing enough time together. Volatile pair without Green. Guess why? Guess who did the volatile pairing without Draymond Green? Guess who made that decision? Just take a fucking guess. Mediocre, bus riding coattails, Steve Kerr. When Wiggins and Kuminga played together without Green, the defensive rating kind of plummeted to 133. Okay, guess who's the greatest NBA defender of all time the past 10 years? Draymond Green. If Draymond Green is not on the court, the Warriors give up like 98 subtracted by 133. They give up like 35 more points. Because you can't replace legendary Hall of Fame defensive talent, Draymond Green. Now here's the messed up part is I still would bet that Kuminga, Wiggins, and Looney could probably still play together. So let's. Oh, the same as volatile. It generally improving significantly once Draymond Green returns to anchor the team, rather than when they play without him. But it's only 178 minutes. People need to understand that. And even the AI systems like the system needs Draymond Green's lead defense, but it's this isn't a lot of time together. It's still not there. It's the it's still not. I just need the number. It still won't give me the number. It still won't give me the number. It won't show me their rating. What was the Yeah, it still won't show me the rating. That's funny. And it kept showing oh, it's just showing like 171 minutes, but that's not a lot of time. You know why that's not a lot of time? Because I'll explain to you why 171 minutes is not a lot of time. You could play 35 minutes in a game, right? And so this is like 5 games. Right? Like imagine you play like 35 minutes, right? So 175 minutes together is 35 minutes times by 5 is like 175, right? Whatever it is. This is like 5 games worth of games. Just shaking my head. Goes back to mediocre head coach Steve Kerr. That's just not enough time together. You can't tell me, Jonathan Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, and Kevin Looney, they didn't even play 5 games together. Like, get the hell out of here with that. Like, damn. Oh my goodness, man. Even when you had Kuminga, Wiggins, Draymond Green, we had a 5-game stretch in 2024. That's it. We didn't get 30 games of seeing these guys play together. That's all on head coach Steve Kerr being an absolute idiot throwing away games. Yeah, ask just like 200 retired NBA pros and be like, man, it would have been fantastic to watch Kuminga, Wiggins, and Draymond Green, just those 3 together for like 30 games or something like that. Or how about the fact that Kuminga, Wiggins, and Looney had never played more than 5 games worth of games together in a lineup? Like, it just goes back to head coach Steve Kerr. Remember, he's constantly wasting minutes and rotations with 4-person guard lineups. Even though what they needed, right? What every NBA team strives for is to have like a powerful defense that's gonna win them games. That's all on head coach Steve Kerr. Head coach Steve Kerr the past 6 years had one good year thanks to Curry's offense and Draymond Green's defense, bailing out the failure of head coach Steve Kerr, wasting talent and time. Steve Kerr atrocious rotations, decision making, had an elite defensive team for like a 5-game set of data, because it's again head coach Steve Kerr failing 5 years out of the past 6 was his incessant dumb decision making, wasting playing minutes. Wiggins played 60 games this year. Jonathan Kuminga played 50 games, and the Warriors didn't play a role they should. These pros are needed for the Warriors. And I'll leave that rant as is. I'll segment and cut up the 40-minute discussion on NBA culture and NBA player projections, and then I'll take the past. I guess it's two 40-minute segments. This next 40-minute segment where it's the end of the Warriors season and my post-season analysis and looking at the Warrior culture of the past 6 years with a $10 billion NBA franchise in the Golden State Warriors. And it just shows that even when the data is present, we never saw more than 5 games where the Warriors defense would be elite, and you never saw more than 5 games because it's all on head coach, mediocre head coach, coattail riding, bus rider, Steve Kerr. Classic. I'll end that here for the recording.